imagine building like $1 billion, highly tactical super ship designed to just conquer Europe. And then it gets rammed in the hull by a rusty speedboat running entirely on adrenaline.
Yeah, that is actually a pretty perfect way to describe it. Big question today, though. Are Nottingham Forest quietly building something genuinely dangerous, or, is Aston Villa already just miles ahead?
Right. This is Elliot Blackwell.
And I'm Pandora.
And you're listening to We Might Be Wrong Again.
We are looking at a really fascinating clash of philosophies for this deep dive. We've pulled from a pretty diverse stack of sources today.
Yeah, we've got the match reports from that recent Europa League semifinal first leg, alongside the post-match press conferences from Unai Emery and Nuno Espirito Santo.
Right, and we're also looking at the underlying data from the latest Premier League table standings. Plus, we are diving deep into the surprisingly crucial document, Nottingham Forest's 2025-26 fan engagement plan.
So, to set the stakes for you today, I will be defending Aston Villa's methodical structure. I really want to focus on their elite squad depth and, their unshakable tactical stability.
And I am taking Nottingham Forest's side today. I want to look at how pure momentum, unpredictability, and just raw underdog energy can actually dismantle those seemingly superior systems.
Though, as you know, in football, things change at lightning speed. So we're going to make our best arguments based on the data in front of us.
But keep in mind the title of our show, right?
Exactly. So let's jump straight into the spark that ignited this whole debate. I mean, that massive Europa League clash at the City Ground.
Right. Forest securing a 1-0 advantage in that first leg. It really upset the established order for a lot of pundits, but honestly, I'm not sure it was that unexpected.
Wait, not unexpected?
Well, yeah, if you've been tracking their underlying metrics and their form, Forest is on a 9-game unbeaten run across all competitions right now. Momentum is a wildly disruptive force in knockout football.
A 9-game run is impressive, sure. But anyone looking at the Premier League table is probably wondering why we're even comparing these two squads.
Yeah, the gap is big, I know.
It's a 19-point gap. Aston Villa is battling right at the top with 58 points, actively hunting Champions League qualification. Forest is sitting way down in 16th with just 39 points.
Right, but knockout football isn't about a 38-game average. It's about the 90 minutes right in front of you.
I suppose, but league position is the ultimate metric of consistency over a grueling 9-month campaign.
Sure, but Forest just handed Villa only their second Europa League defeat of the entire season by basically completely ignoring Villa's structural superiority.
It does make you wonder, though, if Forest is just riding a temporary emotional wave, like a surfer catching a rogue swell, whereas Villa has actually built a sturdy ship meant to weather the whole season.
But a sturdy ship can still get completely outmaneuvered if a faster, more aggressive boat throws a wrench into its propeller,
Yeah.
Forest tapped into this chaotic unpredictability that Villa's rigid structure clearly struggled to process.
I am not sure I really buy that analogy. Villa is like a Swiss watch right now.
Yeah.
It's intricate, it's predictable, every gear relies perfectly on the one next to it.
You don't need a better watch to break a watch, though. You just need to throw sand into the right gears, which is exactly what Forest's transition game achieved.
Right, but throwing sand is just a temporary disruption. A tactical system built by a manager like Unai Emery is explicitly designed to self-correct, to wash that sand out over the course of a match.
Let's talk about the men on the touchline then, because honestly, that self-correction simply didn't happen in the first leg.
Well, Unai Emery's European pedigree isn't just a talking point, it's a massive psychological advantage. He is currently managing his 7th Europa League semifinal.
Oh, nobody is questioning his history in this specific tournament. He is undeniably a specialist. Clearly.
He has literally won the tournament 4 times. That history gives his players a mental safety net. They know exactly where to be and how to suffer without losing their shape.
Wait, but history doesn't actually play on the pitch. Those 4 trophies sitting in a cabinet didn't help his squad run any faster when their legs were completely dead on Thursday night.
That's precisely why Emery relies on a heavily structured possession game.
Yeah.
Villa still managed 50% possession and outpassed Forest,
Yeah.
right? They used the ball to manage their own fatigue.
Having the ball doesn't mean you're controlling the game's tempo, though. Nuno Espirito Santo actually set a brilliant, pragmatic trap by letting them hold the ball in non-threatening areas.
A trap. Are you actually saying Nuno intentionally gave a technically superior team the ball just to tire them out further?
Exactly. Nuno publicly praised Emery all week,
Yeah.
kind of lulling them into a false sense of security. And then he just ruthlessly targeted Villa's physical fatigue.
Right, because Villa had that grueling Champions League match against RB Leipzig just days prior.
Yeah, exactly. So I have to ask, does a rigid tactical system actually become a liability when the squad is too physically exhausted to execute the precise movements it demands?
I'd push back on that being a fatal flaw, honestly. Emery's tactical identity is exactly what allows a team to survive those tight, difficult turnarounds between Europe and the league.
But when your legs are heavy, you are a second late to every defensive rotation.
The system provides the baseline organization, so players don't have to rely purely on explosive physical reactions. They know their zones, which is why Villa still look highly organized for most of the night.
But Forest's tactical flexibility allowed them to bypass those zones entirely. They didn't try to outpass Villa. They used vertical, chaotic runs to exploit the exact moments Villa looked sluggish in transition.
That chaos you're praising, though, it only works if you have the right personnel to enforce it, which brings us to the actual chaotic events that unfolded on the pitch.
Oh, we absolutely have to talk about Elliot Anderson's role in that midfield. His disruptive energy was the specific mechanism that tilted the game in Forest's favor.
Right, but was it tactical brilliance or just raw, unbridled physicality? Anderson was undeniably energetic, but his pressing often bordered on being entirely reckless.
I'd call it calculated disruption. He wasn't just running blindly, he was specifically pressing Boubacar Kamara's blind spot, cutting off Villa's pivot and forcing rushed clearances.
Well, it also forced one of the most controversial moments of the entire match. I mean, Unai Emery was absolutely furious about the VAR missing Anderson's tackle on Ollie Watkins.
Yeah, Emery was visibly livid in the post-match press conference. He explicitly praised the on-pitch referee, but called the VAR officials' inaction a, quote, huge mistake.
He went as far as claiming Watkins could have broken his ankle.
Mm.
When you look at Villa's already brutal injury list, tackles like that expose the dangerous dark side of throwing sand in the gears.
I am certainly not defending reckless play or potential injuries, but calculated physical intensity is like the great equalizer when you are facing a team that is technically superior on paper.
But that superior technical talent is what kept Villa alive in the tie. I mean, Emi Martinez's miraculous reflex goal line save against Igor Jesus, that was a display of pure, undeniable world-class ability.
Oh, wow. That save was astonishing. I would give you that. It honestly felt like a perfect replay of his award-winning stop at the same stadium back in December 2024.
Exactly. A system can put you in the right defensive shape, but you still need an elite talent like Martinez to pull a ball off the line when the system temporarily breaks down.
But even Martinez couldn't stop the decisive moment of the night. We really have to highlight Chris Wood stepping up to score his 200th career goal.
A massive personal milestone for Wood, sure.
Huh.
But let's be totally honest about the mechanics of that goal. It came from a highly controversial, bizarre Lucas Digne handball.
Bizarre's putting it lightly. His arm was in a completely unnatural position, but Forest forced that error by relentlessly packing the penalty area and creating panic in the Villa defense.
Panic that was severely compounded by sudden structural issues, right? Amadou Onana being forced off in the 55th minute with a recurring calf problem completely destabilized Villa's central block.
Which perfectly illustrates my point about underdog momentum. Villa might have the deeper 25-man squad, but their defensive midfield crisis left them incredibly vulnerable to Forest's direct attacks.
I see it differently. Villa's structure survived losing both Kamara's rhythm and Onana's physicality, and they still only conceded via a freak penalty incident. I think that shows immense resilience.
Or, it shows a massive dam that is slowly starting to crack under relentless pressure.
I suppose. Hey, if you're enjoying this, maybe hit like and subscribe. It helps more than you think.
It really does. So let's zoom out from the chaos of this current season and look at the bigger picture. Who has the brighter future?
Looking at the next 2 to 3 years, the argument for Forest falls apart for me. Aston Villa's continuous push for Champions League spots provides the sustainable financial power needed to stay at the top.
Financial power is crucial, yeah, but I think you are severely underestimating the cultural foundation Forest is laying right now. Have you really dug into their 2025-26 fan engagement plan?
I read through the document, and prioritizing a safe, inclusive environment is obviously a strong move for modern community building. But PR initiatives don't buy top-tier strikers.
It is so much more than just a PR initiative, though. It's about turning the stadium into an absolute psychological fortress. They delivered 6 large-scale TIFO displays, those massive choreographed banners, by partnering directly with Forza Garibaldi.
Right, tifos are great for creating an intimidating atmosphere for the first 5 minutes before kickoff. But how does that translate to sustained on-pitch tactical success against elite European teams?
Because that raw emotional equity translates directly into the exact kind of high-pressing, adrenaline-fueled football that just suffocated Villa. When players feel that unified energy, they literally run through brick walls for the badge.
I mean, I am struggling to connect, say, an 88 tech service for reporting stadium abuse to a tactical advantage on the grass.
It's about total structural alignment, from the terraces to the pitch. They also have a fan advisory board that legally must meet at least 4 times a season with the club chairman.
So the fans literally have a mandated seat at the boardroom table.
Precisely. By legally protecting heritage assets, like the club name, the crest, home kit colors, from being changed without consultation, they remove the corporate friction that poisons so many modern clubs.
Aston Villa has incredible historic fan support too, though. Plus, they have the global revenue streams to invest heavily in elite youth academies and global scouting networks.
Villa's global reach is undeniable, but Forest is cultivating something fiercely local, weaponizing their community with initiatives like the Home for Christmas campaign, which raised over 4,000 kilos of food bank items.
Yeah, I did see that the club owner actually matched those donations entirely. They even brought a local kids team, Warriors United, to an exclusive open training session.
Right, and that deep community embedding creates a really unique club identity. While Villa operates like a streamlined global corporation, Forest operates like a localized family going to war.
But doesn't Forest's plan also mention a new initiative called International Reds? I mean, they are clearly trying to build a massive global future as well.
They are scaling up, yes, but they are doing it by exporting an authentic, fan-led culture rather than just selling an athletic product to international tourists.
So you were basically asking me, can raw, unified fan base, energy, and emotional momentum eventually build a stronger long-term club than millions spent on tactical squad building?
Exactly, because emotional momentum builds fierce loyalty, which attracts players who want to fight for something real rather than mercenaries just looking to collect a massive paycheck.
I still maintain that consistent, methodical investment is the only proven way to survive the top half of the Premier League. Tidal waves of emotion eventually crash on the shore.
A tidal wave doesn't just crash, though. It permanently reshapes the coastline before it recedes.
Well, I think we are ultimately looking at a classic clash of two very different club-building philosophies here.
Definitely. You are watching Aston Villa's established methodical structure go head-to-head against Nottingham Forest's passionate, highly unpredictable rise.
And as we've seen from all the sources today, football is a constantly evolving ecosystem. A single injury crisis or one chaotic midfield performance can just upend years of careful planning in a heartbeat.
Yeah, nothing is ever guaranteed on the pitch. It truly doesn't matter how many times your manager has lifted a specific European trophy in the past.
Which brings us to a final provocative thought for you to mull over ahead of the second leg next week.
Right. If an underdog Forest squad actually manages to knock Unai Emery, the undisputed king of the Europa League, out of his own tournament,
Does that permanently shift the balance of power in Midlands football?
it is a massive question, and the answer will likely be decided by whoever blinks first under the lights at Villa Park.
Thank you so much for diving into this complex debate with us. Please remember to hit like and subscribe, and we will catch you next time.